For generations, we were taught that safety lived inside a bank, that the hum of fluorescent lights, the quiet scratch of a teller's pen, the stamped seal on a passbook, all meant our future was secure. We believed the numbers printed on that little slip of paper were promises, promises that our effort, our time, our sacrifice could be kept safe somewhere behind thick vault doors. But history, as it often does, whispers a different truth. Let's go back, for a moment, to 1931. The Great Depression had already strangled millions of lives. People stood in endless lines, not for bread, but to withdraw their savings. They had trusted the banks, just as their parents did. Yet overnight, thousands of institutions closed their doors. Depositors watched through dusty glass windows as the word bankrupt appeared where open once hung, and their money, their belief in safety, vanished like mist in the morning sun. That scene has replayed again and again across centuries and continents. From Argentina's bank freezes in 2001 to the quiet panic in Cyprus in 2013. Why? Different languages, different governments, but the same silent heartbreak. Ordinary people discovering that the safe place for their money was only as strong as the paper or the policy that held it. We like to believe that saving is virtuous, that tucking away each paycheck is responsible. But few stop to ask, grow against what? When we lock our money away, we are trusting not the vault, but the system that values the vault's contents. And that system shifts, breathes, decays, and renews. Sometimes overnight. Even as we learn to trust banks, another quiet thief was at work. No one breaks into your home at night, and yet by morning, something precious has been stolen. Not your cash, not your gold, but the quiet power behind them. Inflation. It doesn't wear a mask, nor leave fingerprint. It slips into your life, into your morning coffee, your loaf of bread, your child's school uniform, stealing in silence until you realize your money doesn't go as far as it once did. It begins innocently enough. A little more for gasoline, a few cents higher for rice. But over months and years, those changes compound. What was once a simple breakfast now costs a small confession of disbelief. It used to be cheaper. Those words echo the footsteps of inflation. In 1923, Germany's mark dissolved into chaos. Prices doubled every few days. Workers were paid twice daily, rushing their wages home before the numbers changed again. Housewives carried baskets of money to buy loaves of bread, and by evening, those loaves cost double. The currency had become a shadow of itself, paper lighter than air, worth less than the ink that printed it. The tragedy of inflation doesn't always come in dramatic bursts. Sometimes it moves politely, almost imperceptibly. In the United States of the 1970s, prices crept upward year after year. A man who had saved $10,000 in the 1960s discovered a decade later that his nest egg could barely buy half of what it once did. He hadn't lost a cent, and yet he had lost almost everything. Inflation drains meaning from money quietly, invisibly, and without malice. This quiet erosion of value is mirrored in the journey of currency itself. Why? There was a time when a single dollar carried weight, substance, and promise. Coins of silver and gold glimmered with certainty, each a reflection of labor and rarity. Paper, however, was born to be lighter, faster, easier to move. It was a remarkable idea, but also a gamble. Because paper, by itself, is nothing. It only holds value as long as people believe it represents something more. In 1944, as the world emerged from war's ashes, the great powers gathered at Bretton Woods. The US dollar would stand at the center of global trade, its value backed by gold. Every note, every bill, a reflection of the treasure stored in Fort Knox. Nations trusted it. The world breathed easier. But decades of spending, borrowing, and printing challenged that faith. By 1971, the US abandoned the gold standard, and suddenly, paper became just paper. The dollar lost its anchor, and the world's currencies floated free into uncertainty. Money no longer rested on metal. It rested on belief, fragile and shifting. Banks, too, revealed their fragility. Their marble floors and heavy doors gave a sense of permanence, yet history tells a different story. In 2008, the world learned just how fragile faith in banks could be. Whispers of missed payments and risky loans became a global convulsion. Banks that had stood for centuries fell in days. Ordinary people, who had done everything right, woke to find their savings trapped or vanished. No riots, no smoke, no gunfire, only the silent violence of vanishing numbers. This pattern is not new. In 1929, panicked crowds gathered outside shuttered banks, discovering that cash had already disappeared into failed investments. In 1997, Asia trembled as economies collapsed, currencies plummeted, and the numbers people trusted turned meaningless. Banks, like paper currency, are only as strong as the promises behind them. And promises, history teaches us, can fail quietly, invisibly, overnight. Even the comfort of watching your balance grow carries a hidden cost. There's a quiet pleasure in seeing your numbers rise, month by month. It feels steady, predictable, like the slow rise of the tide. But the tide never waits. Outside, the world accelerates. Prices shift, markets twist, and technologies leap forward. Your savings, motionless, become a photograph fading in the sun. Comfort itself, the lullaby of security, is often the very trap that prevents your wealth from growing. The rise of machines has accelerated this transformation. Once, money moved at the speed of men, from hand to hand, tangible and weighty. Now it flows as invisible code. Algorithms pulse through fiber optic veins, executing trades faster than the eye can follow. Artificial intelligence predicts market movements and adjusts strategies before human traders even notice. Money is no longer a thing we touch. It is data, light, and code, fragile in ways our ancestors could never have imagined. The flash crash of 2010, which erased nearly $1 trillion in minutes, revealed the consequences of surrendering control to machines. Invisible power, capable of erasing wealth without warning. Time, too, is a silent adversary. You save to protect yourself from risk, yet each passing year slices away at the value of your holdings. Inflation punishes stillness. The coffee you buy costs more. Your rent swells, and your carefully built wall of savings remains the same number, motionless while the world surges ahead. Patience, once a virtue, becomes a paradox. The longer your money waits, the more it falls behind. From the Great Depression to hyperinflation in Zimbabwe, history shows us that those who cling to static savings are slowly left behind while the world moves forward. The past carries another lesson. Stability is always an illusion. The stock market crash of 1929, the Asian financial crisis of 1997, the debasement of Roman currency, all whisper the same truth. Numbers on a page are not wealth, they are promises, and promises can dissolve. The people who survive, who thrive, are those who understand patterns, who adapt, who see opportunity even when certainty vanishes. True wealth, history teaches, has never been static. It resides in understanding, knowledge, and the ability to act. In the Renaissance, merchants grew rich, not just by trading goods, but by mastering navigation, finance, and language. During industrial revolutions, those who invested in skills, factories, and innovation built enduring fortunes, while passive savers watched numbers erode. Today, the principle holds. Money is not an end. It is a tool, a seed that can either lie dormant or grow when nurtured with awareness and intention. The wise invest in things that endure, in land, in ideas, in education, in trust in themselves. They move beyond passive savings, beyond the false comfort of untouched balances. They understand that money's purpose is to work, to flow, to create value. Every dollar spent on learning, on action, on foresight, compounds far more reliably than dollars left to fade behind a glass screen. Reclaiming control begins when we understand that money is not a talisman. Its power is earned through deliberate action, awareness, and courage. Those who awaken to the mechanisms of inflation, market volatility, and systemic fragility gain something far more valuable than the numbers themselves: agency. Money can be guided, shaped, and multiplied, not by chance, but by knowledge. The fall of value is not tragedy, it is awakening. From it emerges the possibility to move, to rebuild, to create, and to endure. History teaches us, above all, that money, power, and time are intertwined. To hold wealth safely is not merely to save. It is to understand, to act, and to flow with the currents of a world that never stops moving. Numbers alone cannot protect you. The future belongs to those who see clearly, who embrace change, who invest in what truly endures: knowledge, adaptability, and the courage to act when the moment demands it. Money is transient, power is fragile, and time is relentless. Yet within these constraints lies freedom. The freedom to understand, to guide, and to transform fleeting numbers into lasting impact. The person who masters this rhythm, who honors the lessons of history while moving decisively in the present, discovers that true wealth is not the sum of dollars, but the sum of wisdom applied over time. It is in this delicate balance between action and patience, risk and understanding, loss and opportunity, that we reclaim not just our money, but our place within the ever-turning world.